This example asks you to graph the equation x minus 3 equals y. So the very first thing you're going to do is create a table of values to determine which points you can graph. So let's just start by creating a table. We'll have an x value, we'll decide on an x value, and then we'll determine the y value from that. So let's just start with 0, because that's an easy one to start with. And if we plug it into our equation, 0 minus 3 equals, and our y value is going to be negative 3. Let's just try a few more values. 1 minus 3 equals negative 2. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. 4 minus 3 equals 1. You should plot at least 4 points, or you should have at least 4 in your table of values. Now you can have different values for your x and y. In fact, there are many possibilities. But because we want to graph the coordinates of these values, we want to keep the numbers so that they'll fit on the scale of a graph, because if you have too large of numbers, they're just not going to fit on a graph, or you'll need a really large graph to draw them on. So now we're going to take those values and we're going to create a graph from that. So here we have a coordinate grid, and we would have our values, our coordinates 0, negative 3, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 1, 3, 0, and 4, 1. Those are the values we came up with. But again, you might have different values. So in order to plot these on the grid, you know that this is the y-axis and this is the x. And the x value is always plotted first. You always do the x first and then the y value. And down here would be negative y values. Over here are positive x values, positive y, and negative x. So let's just take a look at where we would plot 0, negative 3. So we start at our origin, which is 0. We go over 0, which means we don't go anywhere, and we go down negative 3. So we would put a dot right there. Secondly, we have 1 and negative 2. So we go over 1, it's positive, and down negative 2. So we would plot it right there. And over 2 and down 1. And over 3 and down 0, or up 0, right on the axis there. And over 4 and up 1. So your graph plots should look something like that. If you use different values, they might look different. But as you may know, these will create a line, a straight line. The values that we plot create a straight line. So yours should be along this same line. So when you're asked to graph an equation, first complete the table of values and then graph the coordinates on the grid.